In this video, we will revise the important concept of cell in biology, and these are the following topics which will be covered. We will talk about cell theory, how cells are observed, cell structure and function of the various organelles. Then we will talk about plant cell and animal cell, and then some specialized plant and animal cells. Okay, the first concept is cell theory. What is that? Basically, the very idea that all living things are made up of microscopic building blocks, which are cells. So this is basically the cell theory. And students, this is very important. Well, you see, an organism, say as complex as a human being, is also made up of trillions of cells. Even the cats and dogs and bird, all of them are made up of cells. And you see, even the fruits, tomato, vegetables, potato, they are also part of the plants, right? And they are also made up of cells. Each cell contains smaller structures called organelles, each of which has a specific function. Now, the first thing is that we cannot observe the cells with our naked eye. We have to use the microscope, which you can see over here. And first, objects need to be placed on a slide, then strained and covered with a cover slip, and finally placed on the stage of the microscope over here. And as a result, you will be able to see something like this. Say for example, an onion peel. If you put it using tweezers on the slide and then using the microscope, you can see this structure. Here you see, what do you observe? See this structure? This is a cell. Okay, yet another structure. So you see various cells. What do you observe? You observe that the cells are together in blocks like this. Okay, here you can see a plant cell drawn after observation with a light microscope. And what are the various components you see? The first thing is the boundary, a cell wall. Next, see a big gap, vacuole over here, this big gap. Next, cell membrane over here, this one. Next, you can see structures outside the vacuole but inside the cell wall. One of them is the nucleus. Next, we have got chloroplast. Then we have got the liquid here, cytoplasm, and then we also have mitochondria. We will discuss about them very briefly. But first, let us talk about the differences. You see, plant cell and animal cell, they have some similarities as well as some differences. Now, let us first consider about the similarities. What both of them have. So if this is the animal cell and this is a plant cell, you see both of them have a nucleus which controls what the cell does. Next, both of them have cytoplasm. This is, you see, a jelly-like stuff where most chemical reactions happen. Next, both of them have a cell membrane. See over here the cell membrane. This is a thin skin around the cell and it holds the cell together and also controls what goes in and out of it. After that, both of them also have mitochondria. You see these tablet-like structures. These are tiny structures inside the cell where most of the reactions for aerobic respiration takes place. And as a result, energy is released. So this is basically the powerhouse. Next, what both of them don't have. Say for example, the plant cells. So what plant cells only have but the animal cells don't have? Well, you see, first the plant cell has a cell wall outside the membrane. So the cell wall is basically a rigid outer coating made up of cellulose and it gives support to the cell. Next, the plant cell has a big gap over here. See, a vacuole. This is filled with cell sap, which is a weak solution of sugar and salts. Next, chloroplasts are present. See, these contain chlorophyll used for photosynthesis. See the green structures? chloroplasts. Okay, and you also know that photosynthesis makes food for plants. Now let us have a brief discussion about the functions of the various parts. So cell membrane, basically it controls what enters and leaves the cell, and it is present in both animal as well as plant cell. Next is cytoplasm. It is the place where lots of chemical reactions, photosynthesis takes place, sort of. So now one of the chemical reaction is photosynthesis. Now this is present in both animal as well as plant cell. Next, the nucleus. Well, it stores information in DNA and controls what happens in the cell. Again, it is present in both of them. Next, mitochondria, which release energy from food, glucose, by aerobic respiration. Again, this is present in both of them. Now we have the concept of cell wall, which is made up of cellulose and gives support to the cell. Now this is present only in the plant cell. Next, we have vacuole, which inflates the cell like air pump into a tire and provides support to the cell. Again, this is present usually in plants. And finally, we have the chloroplast, which contains green chlorophyll that changes sunlight energy into glucose food energy, which is present in plants. Let us have a little more detailed discussion on the various cell organelles. First is mitochondria. Well, it is basically the powerhouse of the cell. It helps in the production and storage of energy. So energy management. Okay, so it is the manager which manages the energy, and you can abundantly see the mitochondria in cells of liver, brain and muscles where energy requirement is high. Next, we have got endoplasmic reticulum, and this is basically the passage in the cell. Conduction of materials inside the cell takes place through this organelle, and this is also known as cytoskeleton, as it provides firmness and shape to the cell. Next, we have ribosome, which is basically the center of protein synthesis in the cell, and this is seen either attached to the endoplasmic reticulum or free in the cytoplasm. Now students, this particular part is little bit advanced to what I have previously told you. Also, we have already discussed about vacuole, which is covered by a characteristic membrane called tonoplast. And basically the vacuole, as you can see over here, it stores water, salts and excretory materials. Again, we have the Golgi complex, which collects cell secretions like enzymes, hormones and mucus in small vesicles, and this is seen in plenty in glandular cells. Okay, so overall, what is the basic function of a cell? We have talked about the cell organelles. Now if we talk about the function of the cell, it is mainly three parts. The first is, you see, to resist foreign particles. Next, release energy from nutrients, and then synthesize biomolecules. Now let us talk about some specialized animal cells. You see, as an animal develops from the embryo, its cell multiply and changes into many different types. As you can see over here, 3 different types I have shown, and each has a different structure suited to do a particular job, specific job. Say for example, the sperm cells. They are produced by male animals and they use their long tail. You see, this is the long tail over here, the long tail over here, to swim through the body fluids to reach the female sex cells or the eggs. This is the long tail, important for swimming. Next, we have the nerve cell. You see their structure? These are specialized to conduct electrical signals. They have tiny branches, see that small tiny branches, to connect with other nerve cells. Right? These are the branches of the cells. Next, we have the muscle cells, which have filaments. See, for example, these are the filaments that interweave among themselves, allowing the cell to contract rapidly and so provide muscle movement. So they can expand as well as they can contract for muscle movement. Now let us talk about some specialized plant cells. Well, you see, again, similar to the case of animal, as plant grows from a seed, its cell multiply and become specialized for range of different functions. The plant cells shown here are specialized to transport vital substances such as water and sugar around the plant. See, we have shown you 3 different examples of various types of plant cells. First is the root hair cell. You see, they have a long hair-like extension, this one, that absorbs water and minerals from the soil. So these are present in the root. That's the name, root hair cells. Next we have the phloem cells, which transport sugar around the plant. These tube-like cells, you see the structure, they have the tube-like structure. And here we have got the two-way flow of sugar, both in this direction as well as this direction. And these are the small pores over here, as you can see at the end of the cell. And these tube-like cells have porous walls that are joined end to end, as you can see over here. Next we have the xylem cells. They carry water up from a plant's root to the leaves. Okay, so this is unidirectional flow, one-way flow of water. Basically, if this is a tree sort of, then the phloems, the xylem cells over here, they are carrying the water from the root above. Okay, that is from the root to the leaves. The cells have open end that join together to form a tube. See, for example, so their structure is again somewhat similar yet quite different to that of phloem cells.